My name is David. This is a ghost pepper. Welcome to the Cove Show. Oh my gosh. Shut up. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen. This is so, that was awful. Okay, guys, we're gonna play a little game. 5 seconds to answer 5 questions. The person who gets the most wrong is gonna have to eat another ghost pepper, but we're gonna eat the pepper before we answer the questions. So, let's start over here, because thank goodness. Nathaniel, you're the first. You eat it.
I was last.
All right, take a bite.
All right, a whole bite.
Oh, he went way higher.
Oh!
That's what I was supposed to do, right?
I feel the heat coming over here. Okay.
Are you ready?
You got 5 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
Ready?
Oh, wow.
What is the first book in the Bible?
Genesis.
What is the last book in the Bible?
Revelation.
What four books tell about Jesus' life on earth?
The Gospels.
Which 4 books?
Oh, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay, which book did Jesus directly write?
What?
Which book did Jesus directly write?
All of them? You said Jesus?
Which book did Jesus directly write?
None of them.
I'm so confused.
What is the longest book in the Bible?
Like chapter-wise, Psalms?
Yeah, there you go, that's fine.
Oh my word.
Alright, you got 1 wrong. Jake, take a bite.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah!
Okay, how many books are there in the Bible?
66.
How many books are in the Old Testament?
46.
Old Testament?
43.
Wrong. How many books are in the New Testament?
26.
Wrong. Which New Testament book has Jesus' Sermon on the Mount?
Matthew.
Okay, last one. True or false? The Bible was written in the English language.
False.
There you go.
I am in so much pain.
Oh, throw up. Go that way. Oh my God. Commercial break. We're back. Everyone is okay. Yep. Got
Barely.
all of our stomach contents are still inside. Here we go. My turn. Pepper number 2 for me. You ready, Ken?
Yep.
Gosh, why am I
you
more
ready,
nervous
David?
this time than before?
Just
wait.
I hate the crunch.
Oh, this
You can eat the whole pepper. I'm just kidding, eat it.
powder in that one.
All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
First question. On what day did God create man?
The 6th day?
Yes. Okay, where did they live at the beginning of the world?
The Garden of Eden.
Yes. Who were the 3 sons listed in the Bible?
Son of man, son of God, son of Adam.
Who did God tell, who did God tell to build an ark?
Noah.
Last one, who were Noah's 3 sons?
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yep, you're good.
That's
Solid. Solid. I would not have gotten son of Adam. I would not have gotten that.
Yeah, I got all those right.
How are you feeling?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Oh, this is so bad.
Why didn't I do this on dry tomatoes?
This one was so much hotter than the last one.
Oh no! Okay, go, Bubba's. Oh, good luck.
You got this.
Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? All right. How many days and nights did it rain when Noah was on the ark?
This hurts. 400. I don't know. I don't know right now.
Okay, how many people?
47 days. Oh my
No.
gosh.
How many people were saved on the ark?
What?
How many people were saved on the ark?
Moses and his family?
You gotta do some math there.
I don't know the math.
Okay. What was God's sign to Noah that he would destroy the earth, never destroy the earth again?
The rainbow.
Okay. What were men trying to do at the Tower of Babel?
What?
What were men trying to do at the Tower of Babel?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Break it. I don't know.
How did God make them spread out across the earth?
All Genesis questions.
What?
How did God make them spread out across the earth?
You know.
Okay.
Marriage.
All right. Ur to move to Canaan?
What?
Who did God call out to Ur to move to Canaan?
Oh, Canaan. Jacob?
No, close.
No.
Very close.
I'm sorry, Boba.
His grandfather.
Those were kind of hard. Not even gonna.
I just followed the list.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay,
Oh!
Oh, he ate it.
Oh, you're gonna.
You guys are babies.
That's the ghost pepper challenge. Yeah. Ow!
A loyal friend to me is someone who doesn't lie, stays true to their word, keeps their promises, and will listen to you without judgment.
Hey guys, we're moving into our next game segment. We are going to play a game called Slapjack. And with that, it's basically a game of blackjack, with the exception that if the person who's not dealing, but who loses a hand, they get slapped. Oh gosh, David was ready to defend himself right there. We're not there yet, but we're going to be. The first person to who wins 3 hands wins. After each hand, if one of us loses, they get a nice little slap from the other person. So, David's dealing one-handed. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing rolling. Here we go.
At 1. Face up. Face up. So the ace can be either a 1 or an 11.
Yes, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay.
My throat is on fire. Like right now, right here. It hurts so bad.
All right, shall we flip them over?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
It's a pretty terrible start for me.
Wow.
All right.
Go ahead and hit. All right.
18.
Okay, let's stay there for a second. So,
Okay. I'm gonna hit.
so you're at 17.
I'm at 17.
I'm gonna stay at 18, right there.
Yeah, that's a good call. So I gotta hit. I'm gonna hit. Wait. Oh, 3, 7, 17. Dang it! I gotta hit again. Come on. 21! No way! Yes!
Are you kidding me?
Yes!
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm ready for this.
Ready? Here
Yeah.
we
Go.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was good.
That was a great round right there.
We gotta pick that up.
That's what interns are for.
Do you want to hand them out?
Of course, sure. I'll go ahead face down. Dun. Okay. This is not.
Whoa.
This is
14. I have to decide first. I'd like to hit.
okay. Here you are. Oh! Dang! Yeah, I'm gonna stay. All right. I promise I won't hit that hard. Okay, ready?
Yep.
1, 2. It's so weird because it just bounces off your face. All right, here we go. So 1 for 1. So to you, you want to deal? Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Oh. Ooh. Oh, shoot. I'm in trouble. Okay.
I got 20.
My 11. Okay, go ahead and hit. I need to hit me.
What? 21! Baby! Woo! Come on!
Alright, you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, I'm gonna do the count at 1. Sorry. I wanted to be a surprise.
That was definitely a surprise.
Dang, that was nice. Alright, so
It's a good throw.
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Here we go. Alright, so I'll deal now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I should have dealt to myself first. Or, sorry, to you first, but it's not gonna mess us up. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
He has 2 kings. I have a 6 and an 8.
This could be it right here.
So I need 7. Or I lose.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hit. Oh! Dang. All right, here we go. David busts. So here's our last one. This is for the high school students. But do we count down now? Oh. Oh. Well, that was fun, guys. We love you guys. We are so excited to go into our next segment. Stay tuned for our next thing.
That was like vacuum sealed.
Stick around. Stick around.
To me, a loyal friend is someone who's always there for you, always has your back. You can trust them with anything. They are willing to run through walls for you. They don't just text you. They are always going to be there for you. If not in person, they will call.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in and watching us kill ourselves through physical pain and a lot of mental pain. I think that ghost pepper was a lot of mental and physical. So
It's the dumbest thing I've ever done. I've
Yeah.
done a lot of dumb things, but that's the dumbest thing.
yeah,
I've ever
hands
done.
down, like I may be kind of a thrill seeker that would go back and do something again. Never, ever gonna do that thing again. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. David and I are gonna kind of tag team and start a new series with you guys. And last series we talked about being anchored in our faith. And so we took some time to really boil down what that means and how can we not only be closer to God in our own lives, but then how can we move forward and mobilize our faith and get out to be a part of what God's doing in this world. And so right now we're going to start a new series, and our new series is called Sidekicks Shine. And it really comes from the idea that we have, as a church, chosen a word to go and be a light out into the world. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to kind of focus in on that a little bit more and to really focus in on the idea that sidekicks shine. Now, what's interesting about sidekicks, guys, and it's a great reminder for us too, is that the whole way the Bible is written and the way this story unfolds is that we're not the main characters. And I think sometimes we get the idea that we're the center, that we're the focus of the story, and we're truly not. We're not at all. In fact, the opposite is very true. We are just a supporting role. And if anything, and God, Jesus, is the main character in the entire story of everything. Now, what's so cool is that we learned about in our last episode is that Jesus wants us to come along for the ride. He wants us to come along and be a supporting role in his conquest, really, of the world, to go and make disciples and to bring people to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And we get to have a part in that as well. And so we're going to take a couple of weeks and we're going to kind of break down what each of those couple of qualities that we feel like are really key to being a sidekick and being a good sidekick for Jesus.
The first sidekick that we're going to look at, guys, is my favorite story in the Bible. It's in the book of Ruth. It's about a lady named Ruth, and you wouldn't initially think that a sidekick would have a book of the Bible named after her, but we'll talk about why she was a sidekick in just a little bit. So let me just first kind of give you a quick summary of the story. It really is wonderful. It's my favorite. So it's just a real short book, 4 chapters long. In the first chapter, we meet a woman named Naomi, and Naomi was married to a guy whose name I can't pronounce, and she had 2 sons and I can't pronounce their names either. But she was married to this guy. They were Jewish people. They moved away because of a famine. And when they moved away, they moved into a land of people that were rebels against the Lord, and to this place called Moab. And they moved to this place, and her sons eventually married Moabite women, and then her sons, her husband passed away, and then her sons passed away. And it was just Naomi left with Ruth and Orpah. Orpah sounds like Oprah, but it's not. So Naomi then says to her daughters-in-law, says, hey, I have, the Lord has brought this calamity upon me. Go back to your families. I'm going to leave and go back to my homeland. And Orpah says, deuces, and Ruth says, no, I'm going to stay. And they walked back and that's where chapter 1 ends. And then they go into chapter 2, and what happens is these ladies in that day, the only way for women to make money was through their husbands. It was their husbands' land, it was their sons, and these ladies had no men in their lives to provide for them, so they were beggars. And Ruth went out into a field, and she said, Naomi, let me go into this field and glean. And what that was is basically as the harvesters were packing up their stuff, the gleaners would come behind. They were beggars, and they would pick up any scraps that were left behind. It was actually a Levitical law that if anything fell behind as you were harvesting, you had to leave it for people. Just a wonderful little beautiful nugget of how gracious God is to care for his people. So Ruth comes in, she's gleaning behind the men, and you can imagine a woman gleaning behind men in a field. It wasn't the most safe place for women. But then Boaz walks onto the scene, and Boaz steps up and he stops at one of his workers, and I picture it like this really cool moment of like Boaz like walking up to his field and looking at all of his workers and like, look at all my stuff, yes. And then his eye catches Ruth, and he's like, oh, hey. And he goes to his workers and he's like, hey, who's that lady over there gleaning with the workers? And the person tells Boaz who she is. And so then Boaz invites everyone, they have a feast together, and then he says to his workers that Ruth is under his protection. And then as Ruth is gathering things, he makes sure that his workers give Ruth extra food. It's just a really like romantic, kind of cool little thing that was happening.
Yeah.
And then in chapter 3, Naomi, the ever-plotting mother-in-law, she tries to get I get it. Yeah. She tries to get Ruth set up. So she talks Ruth into going to Boaz and saying, hey, would you protect us, and would you become our kinsman redeemer? It turns out that Boaz is related to Naomi's late husband, and if in Jewish law, if the late husband passes away, then there's something called a kinsman redeemer, where a close relative can marry the person whose son passed away, and then that will continue the line, the lineage of that individual, but then it will also provide for the widows and the people who need it. So another great way that God protects his people. Boaz was a kinsman redeemer for Naomi and for Ruth. And Ruth comes to Boaz, and she basically says, will you redeem us? And he says, there's one person who has the redemption, who can choose to redeem you before me. Let me go and ask him. And then that leads us into chapter 4. We go to the city gates, and Boaz asks the first kinsman redeemer if he would like the land of Naomi's late husband. And the guy's like, yeah, I want the land. And then Boaz is like, oh wait, that's right. But if you take the land, you also have to take Ruth, the Moabite woman. And the guy's like, nah, I don't want that. So he wanted the money, but he didn't want the responsibility. And he chose not to have it. So Boaz stood up and said, I will. And he is the kinsman redeemer. Boaz and Ruth got married. They had a baby. And that is the story of Ruth in a nutshell.
Loyalty to me means that you are reliable, you are dependable, you are devoted, you are faithful, you are trustworthy. In your relationships, you can have that person's back. You are devoted to your relationships, you are dependable in your relationships, and you are faithful in your relationships.
And what's so cool, guys, is that the finer details within the story are just really beautiful, and they speak so much of redemption and love and so much grace that's just throughout the whole thing. And once we get to the end, you'll see how, in the bigger scheme of things, how it was a huge deal in God's grand story for all of us. And so what we're going to do is I wanted to backtrack here and read one verse to you guys that really highlights where Ruth was just loyal. She was loyal to a fault, if you will. And in Ruth, you look at chapter 1, you look at verse 16. Here, right before Ruth and Naomi set off and they are go on this journey, become attached to Boaz and all that stuff, before any of that happens, Naomi has a moment where she is just beside herself. And like David had mentioned, that she had said to her daughters-in-law, like, hey, go and live your life. Go and find new husbands. You guys don't have to worry about me. I will be fine. I'll take care of myself. And Orpah is like, yeah, fine. I'm cool with that, and was out of there. Ruth, on the other hand, had a different reaction. In fact, it was the complete opposite. Because she was so loving and loyal to Naomi. And this is what it says in Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. It says, but Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. And here's the thing, guys. It sounds like a little fancy and a little drawn out, but here's what Ruth is doing right here. She loves Naomi so much, and she's so loyal to her as her daughter-in-law, that she says, look, I married your son, you are my family, and I don't belong to my former family. That's not me anymore. I am with you. You are my family. And she basically says, look, I am going to go wherever you're going to go. So no matter what, I'm going to follow you. Like, I'm just going to be with you no matter what. Wherever you stay, I'm going to be there. And who your people are, and that's a really key thing, is that, as David had mentioned, that Ruth was a Moab woman. And in those times, like, to intermarry like that was a big deal, in that she basically had discarded her Moab heritage, if you will, and adopted what her husband, who her husband was a Jew, and was part of the nation of Israel. And so she basically left everything behind that she knew to become part of God's people. And so she's like, I've already left. Like, this is already done and gone with, and I am now part of this family. And ultimately, what's so cool here is that she says, your God will be my God. Guys, she turns away from everything that she knew, and she clings on, she holds on to the love that she has for Naomi. So much so that she's like, look, no matter what happens, I am with you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to go wherever you go. Stay wherever you stay. Be with your people, and have your God as my God.
All throughout, she stayed loyal to Naomi. And if we look in chapter 4, we can see really just the culmination of everything, where she met Boaz, they got married, and they had a baby. And then if you look in verse 16, we can see what happened with that. It says in verse 16, Naomi took the child, placed him on her lap, and became a mother to him. The neighbor women said, a son has been born to Naomi, and they named him Obed. Now, here's the really crazy thing, and for us, I think it's really odd that Ruth would have this baby, and essentially what she did was she gave Naomi the baby. She allowed Naomi to adopt the baby as the baby's mother. And think about that. Like, I think about my kids. Like, I love my daughters. I love my mom. Like, I don't think I would do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I would do that. But Ruth understood that what Naomi needed was that. She knew that she needed an offspring. She needed a son. So Ruth, in her loving and in her loyalty to Naomi, gave Naomi her firstborn child. That blows my mind. And here's the really cool thing about this, the beautiful part that Jake was talking about here. They named him Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. So as we see this whole story unfold, we see how God took this Moabite woman who was homeless and without a husband and barren, and God brought her into this place of prosperity, where the Lord was able to bless her with children, and where God was able to allow the King David to come from her line. But not just King David, we can see that the Messiah, Jesus Christ, came through her line as well. So Ruth was loyal first by leaving her hometown and leaving her people and leaving her gods. And then she was loyal by giving her firstborn son to Naomi. Now, that's probably not what we're going to be asked to do.
We're not advocating that. Don't give them your firstborn.
we don't want you guys to do that, but we do want to just say how we can be loyal and what happens when we are loyal. Because in this world, there are so many people and there are so many times in this life that we are just surrounded by just finicky people. People that say they're going to do something or say they're going to show up and they just don't show up. And think about in your life the amount of times that you've had someone cancel plans, or the amount of times that you've had somebody say they were going to be there and they weren't there. And then maybe think about the times where you said you were going to be there and you weren't there, or you canceled plans. And think about how the impact that had on our lives. A loyal friend is valuable, so valuable. And especially in this world today that we live in, where anything and everything can be used against us, and there's the internet with all of the different things that we have on there. And guys, if we commit now to choosing to be loyal, to being there for people, to showing up, to just, when you can, not now, you can't show up now, but just being loyal, being a good friend. If we commit today, right now, to do that in our lives, just think about how you can shine for Jesus. Just the impact that Ruth had by staying loyal to Naomi. We can have that same impact in our friends' lives if we can stay loyal to them.
And what's crazy about that, guys, is that it really plays into the entire story of God's just redemption story. And as we kind of continue on in this series, we'll see where things pop up in God's story about how he does wild things with people, with his sidekicks, if you will, and has them shine in a way that just really would not have happened there before. And what's cool is when, like David had said, like you see that from here, the genealogy of Jesus Christ comes from here, from these moments, from these choices, and from the love that Ruth had for Naomi. And you see that from David, you go to Solomon, and you go on into this long genealogy that ends up with Jesus Christ coming down to earth and becoming the Messiah, becoming the Savior of this world, and going to die on a cross and eventually rise again from the grave one day. And guys, what's really cool about all of this is that when you think about like the Redeemer, the Redeemer that happens within that family unit, where Boaz he didn't have to take on Naomi and Ruth, but he did. He loved them that much, and he took them on as his own. And then Ruth didn't have to give away her firstborn child. And that's, again, this is another crazy thing, is she willingly, lovingly had Naomi given a newborn son. And when I think about that, like you think about where have I heard that before? That's exactly what God did. God the Father was so loving towards us and wanted us to so badly have a relationship with him that he gave up his only begotten son. In so many translations, you look at John 3:16, and it says that God gave his son. And it's such a beautiful picture, and I think what's really cool is you look at Ruth, and then you look at what happens at the end of this, and it puts it into human terms so that we could understand, and then understand on a grander scale how God gave up his only son to save all of us. Really just an incredible, beautiful picture of the redemption and love that God has for us. And we hope that you guys have a better understanding of it here this week, and we hope that it kind of broadens what you think love is as far as God is concerned, because he has a ton of love, lots of love for us, so much so that he went and he had his son die on the cross for us. And so we hope that you guys understand that, and we hope that you guys are encouraged by that, and ultimately we hope you guys understand the loyalty behind all of that, that Ruth was loyal to Naomi just as God and Jesus has been loyal to us, and we can be loyal to him and to those around us. And that's a key thing, guys. As you guys go out, the world does not look like that. And so I would encourage you guys just to find ways where you can be that person who is loyal to a fault, who is loving to that person, who is caring to that person that maybe needs it. Because Lord knows, like, we've been given a lot, and we've been blessed with a lot. And so we can give that away as well. Let me go ahead and pray for you guys. God, I thank you so much for this time that we've had together to open up your word and to just see where you have just flooded your people with such redemption and love and mercy and grace. And that, Lord, that you show us what it means to be loyal. And Lord, I pray that as we see how Ruth was loyal to Naomi, I pray, God, that we would find ways to be loyal to others as well. God, it seems like we live in a world where we look out for number one, we look out for ourselves. God, I pray that we would be different, that we would look differently than anyone else, that we would be the ones who shine a light. And God, that we wouldn't shine a light on ourselves, but that we would, as a support, shine a light on you. That, God, that we would be able to be an example to others around us and just say that we're just sidekicks, that we are just second place compared to you, the main character, the main attraction in this loving story. Pray for all these things in your name. Amen. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We hope that you guys enjoyed your time here together with us. Just a couple things before we do leave.
Want to make sure you guys check us out on Instagram at Shelter Cove, JHM for junior high, Shelter Cove, HSM for high school. And then also every Tuesday night we meet on our Zoom Hangouts, 6 o'clock for junior high, 7:30 for high school. Check us out for the links, send us DMs, we'll reply with the link to get on there. So that's what we got. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for hanging out. God bless you.